prematurely without looking at every single thing that we need to do. But these balls need to start flying around the damn football field. You know what I mean? And all that other stuff that kind of looks good, but we're way too talented at the wide receiver position to not have at least one or two opportunities throwing the ball down the field. And if I'm not mistaken, I don't think we have one. And that's we're going to be successful. Long drives, 10-play, 11-play drives. That don't give you a whole lot of success, especially in this conference. So you got guys that can get the ball down the field and catch the ball down the field. Those are things that we have to do to be successful, especially to be a successful offense. And again, I don't think we showed that tonight. And when you get guys with 4 catches for 30 yards and 2 catches for 10 yards, I mean, when you do the averages, that means we didn't throw the ball down the field enough.
Right. Coach, I think it ended up being 1 of 5 on 4th down. When you're going for it, 4th down, middle of the field, just if 1 or 2 of those is different, just how much, I guess, sorry, let that question get away from me. Just how difficult is it when you sometimes get behind in those situations that you can't convert?
Well, I mean, we thought we were gonna have to do that anyway, right? Just because they were very, very explosive offense. We didn't necessarily want to give it back. At that time, we thought we had to. I beg to differ on the spot that we got on the first one. You know what I mean? I don't think the referee was where he needed to be to make that call, but I think on the other 2 we were short. So now schematically, right? Like hey, 4th and 3, we can't have catches at the 2. So that's execution. That's calls. Things of that nature. So, but I mean, if I had to do it over again, I'd still do it. I think at that stage in the game and kind of how they were going offensively, we knew it was going to be somewhat of a high-scoring football game. But I just thought that at that time they were needed times to go for it, and then you go for the first, second time. Now you're down 28-6, and you kind of have to still kind of go for it because you're still trying to put points on the board. So we went one. I think we went 1 of 4 or 1 of 5, and and then you give the ball to an explosive offense right in the middle of the field, and Alabama State does what they've done all season, and that's put points on the board.
Troy White, FAMU Sports.
Yeah.
Real quick, you had some things going. You were able to pretty much blood in their nose and drive down the field. There were some miscues, personal foul issues with the players. Is that something you're going to need to take a look at going forward, because those can kind of cost you?
I mean, we had the one we had on Charles Davis. To me, that was a plain penalty. Those aren't necessarily ones I'm going to say is undisciplined. I mean, he's blocking the end, and his hand, hand got up there, right? I mean, to me, that's not necessarily a discipline penalty. I just think that's a plain penalty. Then we had the one with Cody Lawrence. I think that was on the sidelines. I mean, the way it looked to me on the sidelines, somebody did a great acting job, and then got the penalty. So I don't think, for me, don't get me wrong. I mean, we've had some discipline penalties. I just don't think the 2 that they called right there were because of that. I think we were 7 of 75, and 2 of those penalties, again, big penalties. Obviously because of when they happened. But I mean, I don't get mad at the plain ones. I get mad at the dumb ones. You know what I mean? And I don't necessarily think those were dumb ones. I think they were plain ones, in my opinion. But if I get a chance to really look at it, but I just think they were plain ones, plain penalties.
Coach, you just said a few minutes ago you were evaluating the game. What is your evaluation of your quarterback play tonight overall? Or what you're looking at right now?
From when I saw the game, he was 20 of 33 for 133 yards. I've watched too much FAMU football to know that we throw for 300. We get touchdowns. We're going to go 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. We're going to throw for 340-something yards. That's not indicative to what I think this offense should be throwing the football.
Does that mean that you're going to have a quarterback change next
game? Our quarterbacks are going to throw. If he's 20 to 33, the completion percentage is technically where you almost want it to be. But I got to know why we were going short as much as we were. I know late in the game, when we're down 2 or 3 touchdowns, Alabama State's playing zone. So all his throws at that time now have to be short yardage. But how we got to that point, right? I watch too much of this football, not even as a coach, but just we got to get the ball down the damn field, man. We got to get the ball down the field. You got to soften this. You got to soften some of these coverages up a little bit, and that's what I saw, right? I just know that I don't think we threw the ball deep enough and took advantage of our receiving core like I would hope we would. And I watched Alabama State for 4 years, and I've seen what their defenses look like, and not to say anything else about these guys this year, but if you look at how those guys were in the last 3 years, 2 or 3 years, they didn't have very many weaknesses. This year we felt they had some, and I thought we would take advantage of it today. We didn't.
Coach, this gives you an opportunity to get a game under your belt in conference, but next weekend you'll get Valley. Just talk about moving forward and banding together and doing whatever you got to do to be successful.
Well, I mean, you know, you gotta. I don't want our guys to soak. You know, as a coaching staff, we got to get ourselves back together. You know, I know they're winning right now. If it looks like, and you know, they're going to come in ready to play. Which, you know, again, when you look at the conference play, you know, you're looking at Bethune beating Alabama A&M. Right? You know, you look at how many points Alabama State scored today. You know, you got some of the other offenses that are in this conference are scoring points. You know, every year, you know, it could be a defensive conference or it could be an offensive conference. Right now, it looks like the offenses that are scoring points are going to be the teams that are going to have the success. So, you know, I would put our playmakers up there against a lot of the teams that we're playing. We're just not. I don't think we're getting it to them. And then, you know, defensively, we got to get our asses off the field. This is probably one of the worst third down defense we had today. You know, and we had a lot of opportunities. You know, when I talked to our team today, we talked about on offense, third and short. Defense, we talked about third and long. Those were going to be the two things I felt that was going to, you know, whether it was going to put us in the right position or kind of tell us how the game went. You know, and I think that on third down and long, I mean, they were able to get themselves extra possessions, and you know, we had third and short and fourth and short, and then we on a lot of those opportunities we ended up coming off the field. So, you know, I don't want to say that was the difference, but you know, when you start looking at about 7 or 8 plays in this football game, half of them are going to be on what happened on fourth down when you give an explosive offense a short field. So, you know, I just you know, you're looking at how this conference is rolling, and the teams that are going to win right now are the ones that are scoring points, not the ones that are scoring 14.
Coach, when you